Let's get to one of our top stories this morning now, with the time just coming up to 9 minutes past 7. And there are fresh calls this morning for a public inquiry into the murder of the Essex MP Sir David Amess. We know his killer, Ali Harbi Ali, had been referred to something called Prevent 7 years before the attack. Now, that's a national programme aimed at stopping people from becoming terrorists. A Home Office review due out today is expected to say that Ali Harbi Ali's case could have been dealt with better. And as you've been hearing in the news with Smithy this morning, Anna Firth, who took over as MP for Southend West, has now written to the Prime Minister saying there are still questions about this that need answering. Joining me now on BBC Essex is Sidra Naeem. Sidra is a chaplain and deputy lieutenant in Essex and has received training from the Prevent programme in the past. Thank you for coming on, Sidra. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Morning. So you've been involved in this programme, and it's something that does make the headlines and has made the headlines a bit more in recent times. But what does it actually involve? We know it's about stopping people from becoming terrorists or supporting terrorists. So how does it work? Give us an understanding of what's involved.
It's basically a programme closely monitoring. It's also protocols and what is extremism, and it's to do with all right-winged type, even political parties, people that are extreme in everything, really, in all kinds of things. There are so many groups out there. It's not just Islamic groups, but from so many other faiths. Hitler, for example, would be classed, if he was alive nowadays, he would also be under Prevent as well. It's any type of extremism that causes harm.
And you say sort of monitoring people and explaining to them what extremism is. I mean, is that how some of those people who are referred to the programme initially might be dealt with? Is there conversations about what they believe and why they believe that and why it's wrong? I mean, is mostly chatting about things? Is that kind of how some of that referral work would start in the first instance?
Yes, that is how it would start. The boundaries, the limits. This is wrong. How would this harm other people? Ideologies, are they correct? It would start off with conversations with the person. Yes.
And I know quite a few people that this programme has helped over the years, but it's suddenly hit the headlines, perhaps more so in the last few years, about potential failings. We're talking about the murder of Sir David Amess, but there has been other cases in more recent years and more recent times where opportunities have potentially been missed. Do you think Prevent is fit for purpose still, Sidra?
Well, obviously not in this case. However, we do need to look at why the process failed. There could be lack of money with the police, for example. We know particularly Essex police do not have any funds, and may not be a direct fault of theirs. Maybe, for example, the government needs to give more funding to the police, or particularly in this area, to deal with things. And it could be the monitoring process that didn't continue with this boy. I think there's a duty to a certain extent with parents as well, just to keep a check on what their children may be doing, which is wrong. There could be a problem with reporting as well, with people who are watching and seeing things, but they're not reporting to the police. It's a whole network of things, more awareness as well, maybe as well. On what is right, what is wrong.
It must be a difficult thing in many respects, because you look at some of the things people might post on social media, some of the things people might say, that doesn't necessarily, it's wrong, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to go on and do what we've heard, in the case of David Amess and the Southport attacks. It doesn't necessarily lead anywhere. So people who are referred,
Yes.
they've got to monitor those people and make a decision, haven't they, on whether or not it is just talk or whether there is something more to it.
Yes, and that's exactly right. And also you don't know what the intentions of the person is as well, inside what they are thinking. We don't always know what they're going to do, really, not unless they say. But networking is important. It's a difficult, but I think money may be the major factor here as well. With Essex Police, they don't really have that much money, and usually they're in other departments as well. The money is, and not maybe particularly in this department.
Yeah, and when you were involved in it, I know it's a little while ago. What was your involvement then? What were some of the things that you had to do, Sidra?
So my involvement was just training actually within the program. Just like everybody else gets training within their jobs. But I have had prevent training as well directly through the police. But that's because I'm directly involved with the community as a chaplain. That was it, really. I have never actually come across anything which I think is extreme myself, and I've never had to report anything. I did know David Amess, actually met him 1 week before he passed away at a party, and he was a very nice man, and I think what happened was very, very wrong. It should not have happened, and he was an innocent person, and that's where the wrong is. To kill innocent people is completely wrong. In Islam, if you kill one person, it's like killing the whole of mankind. It's a very wrong thing to do in all religions. There's not a single religion out there which promotes murder, and all religions are actually about peace and harmony.
Yeah, and this is where sort of that access to, and we know Ali Harbi Ali in the sort of years before this attack was accessing a lot of stuff on social media around Syria and IS, wasn't he? And taking in some of that propaganda and then sort of making his own judgments and views on things based on that material, isn't it? So as you've rightly pointed out, if you were in charge, obviously it's a big question here, Sidra. You've touched on a few areas where some of these shortcomings may have come about, but if you were in charge of changing this programme in some way, doing something about it, where would you start then? Because it seems clear that obviously the case of Sir David Amess, the little girls who were killed in Southport as well, Axel Rudakabana, who was jailed for those attacks, was also involved in that programme, wasn't he? So we're hearing about some of the failings of this programme. Where would you start in terms of trying to change things? What would you do first?
I think it's looking at other things outside of the program as well, like, for example, these extremist sites on the internet, maybe to block those. There needs to be possibly more careful monitoring of some of these sites which are promoting hate, to block them, or, the government maybe needs to also pump in more money into Essex Police or all police. If you look at all the police courts, I'm involved with Met Police as well, and they never have any money either for anything. Yeah. There's been many cases in the community where things have been reported, but they couldn't deal with them because of lack of funds. So it's no fault of their own. I think it all boils down to the money as well. And then internet is such a thing which is so difficult to monitor now. Social media's rife out there. Internet sites, everything is rife out there. And we can't always monitor what people are reading and watching, but we could start off, for example, blocking some of these sites. And the whole community has got a role to play. So the whole community needs to be aware of who to report to and where if they do see anything that is not correct.
Some of the agencies working together, because there'll inevitably be sort of social services or maybe some police involvement. We know in certain cases schools have raised concerns, haven't they? So there's lots of different agencies working together, and that needs to be sort of clear and coherent, joined up stuff as well, doesn't it? Sidra, thank you very much for coming on. Sidra Naeem, just giving us a sense of how this Prevent programme works. Sidra received training from that programme, so has a bit more of an insight than the likes of you and I. As I say, the programme's been running many years, and it's aimed at stopping terrorists and stopping people from supporting terrorists, and that can come in many forms. You can be referred to that programme and some of those conversations with people in the programme. What are you looking at? What material are you looking at? And what are you believing and why? Trying to break that down, move people away from those radical beliefs. They receive nearly 7,000 referrals every year, the government's saying, and they have moved 5,000 people away from extreme beliefs and terrorism. But what we've been hearing in more recent times is concerns that, some people are slipping through the net. More recently, we were talking about Axel Rudikabana, who killed 3 young girls in Southport. They were the ones at the summer holiday Taylor Swift dance class, weren't they? It's just absolutely horrific attack. And we were hearing that he had some dealings with Prevent. He was referred to that programme 3 times. The first time he was only a teenager himself, 13 years old in 2019. Those referrals being made from school because of some concerning behaviours and comments. And there's already been a review, and there's more to come on that in terms of potential failings as far as that case is concerned. But we're going to find out today a little bit more about potential learnings where the case of Sir David Amess's murder is concerned. And of course, that happened a few years ago and shocked everybody in the county. And Ali Harbi Ali, jailed, given a whole life term for that. He was also referred a couple of times to Prevent as well. Did something go wrong there in terms of how that case was managed? We're going to be finding out some more details a bit later on today. And we know that Sir David Amess's daughter, Katie, has previously spoken to us, giving us her views of the Prevent programme. She said she wants everyone failed by it to get an inquiry, telling us it's not fit for purpose.
Unless we do a full public open inquiry for all of the victims that Prevent has failed, we will continue to be sitting here wondering what is going wrong, and we will not have any accountability until we do an inquiry into every case that Prevent has failed. It isn't just Southport, and it isn't just my dad. We had the London Bridge stabbings, the friends that were stabbed in a park, the Streatham stabbings, the device that was detonated on a tube. All of these people were being monitored by Prevent, and all of them were let go. So everybody should have a right to answers. We can't just brush it under the rug and the government pick and choose who they're going to do an investigation for. It should be absolutely everybody that this system has failed.
That's Sir David Amess's daughter, Katie Amess, talking to us on BBC Essex. She was actually on Ben's show just a few weeks ago, describing that Prevent programme as no longer fit for purpose. Well, I'm sure there's going to be more to come from this story when we get some of those details released from the Home Office later on today. It's due out today, and of course, we'll get you some more details on that when we know about it.
BBC Essex.